2 days ago, we were still dealing with literature review. We also agreed that we will close the chapter on literature review and move on to look at the new topic and the new theme or topic. And we agreed today it will be theoretical framework. You can see I've indicated the source that I'm comfortable with, Grant and Osanlo 2014. There are other sources. I used this one. And you will also see that I've written something. Establishment of catchment management agencies in South Africa. This is one of the project that I will use as an example. I've used it in the past, but I noted that from my projects, this one does have a theoretical framework. So we can use it as an example, we can critique it or use it as an example. And looking at the guidelines from what the author says. And today's workshop is going to focus on the following: the struggle in the preparation of theoretical frameworks or a theoretical framework, the importance of theoretical framework, trends in the preparation of theoretical framework, understanding the theoretical framework, the need for a theoretical framework, the theoretical framework as a blueprint, background to selecting a theoretical framework. Selecting an appropriate theoretical framework, we provide guidance here, and we indicate how I have selected the one that I've used in the project under consideration. Integrating the theoretical framework. As an introduction, the introductory slides would use the building of a home as a comparison to how we can view the theoretical framework. Because in building a home, an architect or a contractor knows prior to building a house. And so therefore, it means someone develops drawings, and we can call them plans, or we can call them blueprints for the structure. And I think the development of structures is based on the plans. These plans we know are approved by the authorities. In our country, the municipalities in the respective province or district municipality must approve in line with the bylaws. A blueprint serves as a guide for all those who are involved in the construction of the home. So in this case, we are saying a theoretical framework should also guide the development of our studies. The drawing permits the foundation of the home to be built, and it dictates the overall floor plan of the rooms, the flow of the plumbing, electrical and mechanical systems. Even the direction in which the house will face is determined by the plan or the blueprint. So we will try and mimic this when we do a discussion on a theoretical framework. Like housing construction, Much critical thinking must be put into developing a blueprint for the dissertation or a theoretical framework for the dissertation. We believe the blueprint is an appropriate analogy of the theoretical framework of the dissertation. The theoretical framework is one of the most important aspects in the research process and a component that is often minimally covered in doctoral coursework. We later on there would be a statement which indicates that, especially when we talk about the trends in the use of the theoretical framework, it will become clear that most of the institutions of higher learning have adopted the use of a theoretical framework in order to support our studies and to ground the studies. I think I will also indicate, if I'm not sure if it is everybody who's doing postgraduate studies who is required to use a theoretical framework. We will come to that discussion and you can make your views. Because in postgraduate, we don't only have people that are doing PhD, we don't have people that are only doing masters. We also have people that are doing postgraduate diplomas if they've got a module on research. We don't know if those are required by the University of South Africa to also use a theoretical framework. With respect to honors, I have engaged and interacted with a number of honors students. I did not see one who was indicating that it is a requirement. And we can discuss this so that we can know and expect to who to assist in our interaction. The struggle in the preparation of a theoretical framework is presented like this. Researchers describe the struggle to identify and prepare the theoretical framework for the dissertation as the most difficult but not impossible part of the proposal. And in other words, they're indicating to us here that experience shows that the preparation of a theoretical framework is a challenging process to the majority of students who are doing research. But they also indicate that although if it is difficult, it is not possible. It is not impossible. Those that even think that it is difficult, at the end of the day, through their dedication, end up at developing or preparing or choosing the theoretical framework correctly, and of course under the guidance and support of the peers and the study leaders or the study committees. Professors and dissertation committee members of the doctoral students or master's students in the fields of education, policy, leadership, curriculum and instruction, and social work. Here students express confusion. They express lack of knowledge and frustration with the challenge of choosing a theoretical framework and understanding how to apply it throughout the dissertation. And I think I have interacted with a few of the researchers, the students from the University of South Africa, who also expressed confusion and frustration. So it means it is seen as a general experience to the majority of the students, those that are undertaking research. Some students briefly make mention of a theoretical framework at the start, and they never return to it throughout the rest of the document of their dissertation. Others would omit the inclusion of a theoretical framework in the proposal and are required to restructure their document after committee review. I've got a very good experience in that I was mentoring somebody from a different university, and only to find that they have already collected data and they are analyzing data, they are presenting data, but they did not have a theoretical framework yet. And I had to make a proposal and assist them to actually try and include a theoretical framework. And they tried to do that and even bounced it with the study leaders, the co-promoters, and the main promoter. And eventually it was accepted. So this shows that it is actually not only the University of South Africa where students are encouraged to include the theoretical framework in the preparation of their dissertation. But what I indicated, the example that I cited, also shows that there are challenges in the preparation of the theoretical framework. And what is important about the theoretical framework? The importance of utilizing a theoretical framework in a dissertation study cannot be stressed enough. It cannot be overemphasized. The theoretical framework is a foundation from which all knowledge is constructed, metaphorically and literally, for a research study. And in the example that I've identified today, you will see in later sections of the workshop when I indicate how the theoretical framework became a foundation. By the way, the theoretical framework must be reflected in all sections of the research, starting from chapter 1, where you are concentrating on your research design and your proposal. You must give effect to the theoretical framework. And there is a way of doing that, and I will indicate how I've done it. The theoretical framework serves as the structure and support for the rationale for the study, the problem statement, the purpose, the significance, and the research questions. So from all these sections, I will indicate how we can incorporate or we can give effect to the theoretical framework. But the theoretical framework provides a grounding base on an anchor for the literature review, and most importantly, the methods and the analysis. In a previous workshop, we indicated how we made a comparative analysis between the findings and the part of the literature review, which then I made an extract from the chapter where I was presenting the theoretical framework. And it was from this, the case study that we will present today. So these things will be demonstrated if indeed in practice, they can be done. So the challenges that arise from there and the opportunity of actually accomplishing, trying to give effect to the theoretical framework. A researcher's choice of framework is not arbitrary, but it reflects important personal beliefs and understandings about the nature of knowledge, how it exists in relation to the observer, and the possible roles to be adopted and tools to be employed consequently by the researcher in his or her work. Remember about the research approach. We did speak about the worldview, that when people come conduct research, they have got preconceptions, they've got beliefs, because they've got experience. They might have undertaken research, different types of research or similar research, but they've got an understanding that they bring to the table. They are not approaching their present studies with a vague mind, with an empty mind. So these are living beings that have got preconceptions. So the worldview determines, their worldview is the one that determines what type of beliefs and preconceptions they bring to the table. So that is very important in the choice of the theoretical framework, because my understanding, my views would even assist me to choose in the choice of the theoretical framework and on how I apply it in the study under investigation. Without a theoretical framework, the structure and vision for a study is unclear, much like a house that cannot be constructed without a blueprint. You see, with a theoretical framework, it becomes clear where the study is going, because a theoretical framework would be a foundation that we've been told already in the previous slide, but it also serves as an instrument to envision. It's a visionary instrument to project in the future what the likelihood, what direction the study will take. By contrast, a research plan that contains a theoretical framework allows the dissertation study to be strong and structured, with an organized flow from one chapter to the next. So you can see a linkage that the theoretical framework will be a thread that actually connects one section to another or one chapter to another. That provides a structure, a very strong structure of the research project. Now, trends in the preparation of the theoretical framework. Over the past 30 years, now, in other words, they're going to show us that it's not less than 30 years that people have been using the theoretical framework. There's an expectation by most chairpersons and committee members that a dissertation study will be informed by a theory. Now this relates to the committee and the chairpersons of the committees of the University of South Africa. So, in other words, if UNISA has adopted, or it has got a principle that says all postgraduate research would be informed by a theoretical framework, or will be grounded in a theoretical framework. It means all of us conducting research academically under the University of South Africa would be expected actually to use a theoretical framework. But despite these realities, oftentimes students begin to the dissertation process at a loss for how to accomplish working with a theoretical framework. So it is a challenge, although we are saying it is more than 30 years. So some of us, I remember at the time that I conducted the first research project, I never heard of a theoretical framework. And of late, I could hear about the terminology, theoretical framework, and the terminology, theory. That is when I also started to use the theories, or to identify theories that were applicable to my studies. Concurrently, incorporating a theoretical framework into a research studies is a task that some may continue to struggle with post-graduation. Even there are people who have graduated, and I can tell you, I also support people that are doing PhD from the University of South Africa. Some of them have never heard of the theoretical framework. Some of them are not even including the theoretical framework, whereas some are struggling with the theoretical framework in their studies. So this is a challenge, not only for people that are undergraduate, that are still yet to do the theoretical framework. Even people that have graduated, that have got degrees, some of them do not even understand the theoretical framework. From other universities, there are people with PhDs, and they did not use a theoretical framework. They did not apply it. So maybe it can vary from institutions to institutions and from colleges to colleges. And I would like to hear from yourselves if this is compulsory from any of the colleges from the University of South Africa. It has been noted that journal submissions are often rejected for being theoretical or having no theory. And I don't think that they refer to all journals. Maybe it might be some, because some we did not see it in all the journals. This underscores the importance of teaching students how to implement a theoretical framework in their research, as it pertains not only to the dissertation, but also to the scholarly and research activities in a professor right.
I just want to find out from you, because you are saying this theoretical framework is something that is challenging. And then from what you have been presenting, it seems as if you are establishing whether is it compulsory at the University of South Africa, or you are saying in other universities is optional. I don't have an answer for that, but my question is, in your view, as a renowned researcher, if you were to explain to me as a novice in terms of research, what can you simply explain theoretical framework? What is it? And then the second question is that without a theoretical framework, can one proceed with your study without incorporating the theoretical framework? Maybe let me pause there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The first one, can I request that we shelve the first one, because the next subsection looks at understanding the theoretical framework. I will try to, there are definitions that are there in the presentation, and I will try to say it from my own perspective, what I think it is, and we can again engage when I pause. Let me just pause for now. But already at the beginning, somebody has said a theoretical framework is compared with a plan of building a house or a blueprint. In other words, it grounds the study. It lays a foundation to the study. And somewhere in the presentation, I indicated it should be reflected in a number of sections. All sections should give effect to the identified theoretical framework in a way of applying it. And I will indicate, and a lot of examples will be there to show what it is, how it is used, and how one can frame different statements in order to give effect to it. So I will return to this by providing definitions from the sources. But the second one, if the one that asks if someone can succeed and accomplish the study without a theoretical framework, I think it is only implemented a theoretical framework, and that was from a different university than the others that I also studied under. The other universities I did not see, but I remember in another study I used a framework. I was conducting study under tourism, for tourism, and the topic was framework for sustainable development in the catchment of Lake Mfunduzi. Sorry, a tourism framework, by the way. So I also, yeah, but at this stage, let me also say that apart from a theoretical framework, there are models. Some people use models. I think in disciplines such as accounting and financial disciplines, they might use models. And somebody completed a study in was it North Africa? Yes, and they were investigating tourism around a protected area or a nature reserve, a game reserve, Then they used a destination development model. So they gave it effect to that one. So this shows that there is a family of approaches that are used to structure researches. And now today we are focusing on the theoretical framework, and this is the very popular one that people use. And I even have listened to one of the professors from UNISA that was presenting a theoretical framework, Professor Ngulube. So there are people who have completed studies, and I did complete some studies without implementing a theoretical framework, and others did in other institutions complete studies. They did not have theoretical framework. Understanding the theoretical framework section starts with what a theoretical framework is. And here maybe that is where we shall get the definition. The theoretical framework is the blueprint for the entire dissertation inquiry. I think we made reference to the blueprint earlier on. It serves as the guide on which to build and support your study, and it provides the structure to define how you will philosophically, epistemologically, methodologically, and analytically approach the dissertation. So the terminologies philosophically, epistemologically, and methodologically are what is addressed under your worldview. But I think we didn't deal a lot with this when we did the research approach, because at that time I thought they were not appropriate, otherwise they were going to confuse us. But a theoretical framework can be defined as a structure that guides research by relying on a formal theory constructed by using an established, coherent explanation of certain phenomena and relationships. So in other words, here they are saying that the theoretical framework relies on a formal theory, and it must guide the study. It is a structure that guides the study. So we, in other words, are not going to run away from theories if we are dealing with a theoretical framework. By the way, other authors talk about theories, and they would indicate that you need a theory. And unfortunately, the author that I've used has made reference to the theoretical framework. And the good thing is that when Professor Ngulube presented, he also did not present a theory. He made reference to the theoretical framework and a conceptual framework. If we have got time and it's possible, then I will also touch on a conceptual framework, but I cannot do it today, and it is not part and parcel of this presentation. It's a separate presentation because to me, I've adopted it as a separate concept. But UNISA, we have got people within UNISA who talk about a theoretical framework, not a theory. But a theory is very, very important because you will hear we have to choose a specific theory in order to know what a theoretical framework, which theoretical framework to apply. Thus, the theoretical framework consists of selected theory that undergirds your thinking with regard to how you understand and plan to research your topic, as well as the concepts and definitions from that theory that are relevant to your topic. Now, we will have to make reference to a theory sometimes, because the theory, as I've said, is going to be translated into a theoretical framework. And a theory has got concepts, and a theory does contain definitions. I think I might have made examples in the past when I was linking literature review and data collection, specifically when I referred to a comparison of what the literature says and what the findings says. There were specific concepts that have guided the collection of the data and the interpretation. And those concepts were extracted from the literature review chapter. And that chapter was specifically about theoretical framework. Therefore, that's why I'm trying to clarify where the concepts become relevant. There are things that we will run with, and they will inform our studies. We will have, when we have to give effect to the theory or to the theoretical framework, we will sometimes be able to do so when using specific concepts that assist us to clarify concepts from our studies. Concepts from the theory are related to the concept that emerge from our studies. And our studies does have concepts that are, some of them are defined under the literature section, and some of them would emerge as we collect data and we interpret. The criteria for applying or developing theory to the dissertation must be appropriate, logically interpreted, well understood, and aligned with the question at hand. So the question, the study question, the research question or research questions, you would see later on when I make examples how they relate to the theoretical framework. In the example that we have today, some of the questions have just included the theoretical framework in them. This helps us to make sure that in this section, we do give effect to the theoretical framework. So this will be reflected in a number of sections. And some of the sections you will see will become very evident as we move on. So this is the logical part of it that has to be done. And we show appropriateness of the theoretical framework with the research question. Just in my case, it was even from the research topic that the theoretical framework is reflected. And I can show it here if I've even forgotten to put and to make an extract of it. It's necessary that students must select. Muting, please. Please mute. The person who did not mute is disturbing the workshop. It's necessary that students must select and clarify a theoretical framework from the time the dissertation topic is initially conceptualized. You see, this is a guideline, because if you don't do that early in the study, you will struggle. Because how do you frame the research questions? How do you frame the research objectives? How do you accomplish the section on the leading theoretical framework? Because these are somewhere in the middle of chapter 1 and in the middle of the proposal. So it is important, as we are advised here, that a theoretical framework is better selected or identified at the beginning or at the initial state of conceptualizing the research project. Other researchers even call for pre-theoretical commitments by the researcher to specifically identify one's worldview of heart rather than the mind. Now, here you see, I made reference already to the worldview in the previous slide when they were talking about the methodology, the epistemology, and the beliefs and the views of a person. So here they make an emphasis. They say sometimes some organizations or some other research leaders might request for a pre-theoretical commitment. In other words, a student would be required to commit that indeed he or she will identify a specific theory. Or I don't know if this means that they even identify a theory per se, rather than just to make a promise that a theory will be included. It depends on the institution. It is important that the researcher's choice of theory must be clearly stated and explicitly mentioned early in the writing of the dissertation. Yes, this cannot be overemphasized. We've already mentioned that. The theoretical framework has implications for every decision made in the research process, because every stage, colleagues, will be required to reflect how it gives effect, or how the researcher gives effect to the theoretical framework. So we expect to see a reflection of the theoretical framework in every section. This supports a belief that the theoretical framework for a study must be identified at the inception of the dissertation work. It is believed that all research is theoretical. But although the work this year indicated that we have different types of research, we've got basic research, and I think it is equivalent to theoretical, but we also have applied research. But in the definition of applied research, we said there is no, actually in all the research approaches, we said there is no research that is only basic, because it can sometimes be applied, and there is no research that is only applied, because remember, research would also add into the body of knowledge, then it becomes theoretical. And research, whether applied or not, when it's written, applied research, when implemented in the field, or when the research project is finalized, it might lead to the revision of one specific theory. So you can see that it's not only going to be theoretical, and it's not only going to be applied. So a research is both applied and basic or theoretical. So, but here they are trying to emphasize the need for a theory, that a theory is in all types of research, whether basic or applied. The importance of theory-driven thinking and acting should be emphasized in relation to the selection of a topic. When you select a topic, in other words, please you bear in mind the theory. Development of research questions, theory should be reflected, and I will show it in later sections. Focus of the literature review is there, and let me now also indicate that in the example that we have today, we will see that there is a chapter dedicated on the theory. The literature review section has one dedicated chapter that focuses on a theoretical framework. The design approach also must give effect to the theory. Analysis plan for the dissertation must also do that. We've already seen it, that when I presented an example of a comparative analysis between literature and the findings in the previous workshop. Colleagues, I'll always remind you of what we've said, and I will keep repeating same statements, because research by nature is reiterative. That is why some statements are repeated time and again. But to us, this helps us to interlink the discussion and to make even those concepts that are difficult to master even more understandable and simpler to us. Some authors capture the necessity of including a sound theoretical underpinning in a dissertation study with a quote from a dissertation supervisor who stated, "I don't see how you can do a good piece of work that is theoretical." Now, this is just a comment that I got from the literature. The other one says, the other one addressed, it was Statter. Statter addressed the limited usefulness of findings and conclusions when a study is not justified by a theoretical framework. You can see the importance of a theory giving effect to a theoretical framework being emphasized by a number of authors. Evidence across disciplines is clear that the explicit identification and inclusion of a theoretical framework is a necessity of sound research. The theoretical framework is linked to the blueprint for a house. We've already said this. If you are an architect who is charged with choosing what you are going to build and how the property will be constructed as you imagine it. So we are saying we are still comparing the theoretical framework with a blueprint of a house. Once you create the blueprint, others will have a basic idea of what concepts and principles you will use to establish the ideas and approaches to your dissertation. Because a theoretical framework does have principles and it has got definitions. Only after a plan for the house has been determined can you begin to build the dissertation study. Now, you see now, the plan for a house, they're saying your theoretical framework, when this has been completed, when this has been chosen and it has been identified, then a person can continue to start with the building of the dissertation. Of course, starting with a proposal or from chapter 1, where you design the research project. There are two types of blueprint drawings that are used in the construction industry that correlate to the theoretical framework of the dissertation. First, an architect must create an elevation drawing to display the exterior of the home, as shown in the next slide. I will show that. This drawing offers an outside view of the style and structure. Types of houses vary across the country, from a ranch, a bungalow, 4-square, adobe style, craftsman, split level, and so on. So they are saying even theories are different. So a theory is there. In my studies, I've used a theory of organizational design, but somebody might use a theory of organizational leadership. So these two theories might differ. Somebody can use a theory of sustainable development. So they are different. Now, if you want to liken it with an external elevation, maybe the name of the theory, organizational design, it is a theory that deals with the design of organizations. So it is just said, oh, it looks like an organization. It looks like a rondavel. So it looks like a forum, a squared forum, a flat or a gable or a scotch roof. But we don't know what is inside. And then if we go inside the theory of organizational design, we find specific principles there. This informs us of the details of the inside of that house, that very theory. There is no one perfect or right style of a house. So although certain home styles dominate certain parts of the country, in South Africa, I think we are mixing. But in the past, when I grew up, in the village where I came from, all our huts, we didn't have houses, by the way, they were huts. All of them were round. And all of them thatched. The roof was thatched. So we did not have a lot, and I think I really saw square rondavels in our area where I grew. That was very early in the early 60s. Although I was not born in the 60s, I was born in the 1950s. So, but when I grew up in our village, we did not have these. But nowadays, where I stay, you have got a mixture of many. But the different types of houses, whether it is round or square, whether it is thatch, or it is corrugated iron, or whether it is tiles, there's no house which you can say it's not good, because the choice is dependent on the owner of the house. And as long as the structure impresses me, and as long as it can accommodate me. So we can also not criticize anybody who uses a theory that suits his studies. The most important aspects is the ability to achieve the objective of the studies. And if that theory is capable of achieving, of course, I will show you how you can choose the appropriate theory and how you can apply that theory or a theoretical framework. The fact is, it must be suitable and it must be able to assist you to finalize the studies. Now, all houses can provide shelter and residency. Similarly, there is no one perfect or right theory for a dissertation. Oh, there they are saying it. But certain theories are popular with each discipline. Now, I don't want to make a lot of comments here. I know that the example that I have here has got a family of theories. So the topic would say organizational theory or organizational study. But in the chapter, in the literature review chapter where I presented the theory, then I identified a number of them under organizational theories. So because there are different types, then from them, and I still believe I chose those theories that were closely related to what I wanted to investigate. And they assisted me to actually achieve the objectives of the study. As an architect or a construction developer must select the type of house to build, the researcher must choose a theory to structure the dissertation. And we've been saying this time and again. So a structure of a house looks like this. I know that you know it, but this is an analogy that we've used. So in other words, you would see it from outside, your theory should be perceived as something that houses. You see, a house houses something inside. So if you demolish the roof and you demolish the windows and you go inside, or you would find, oh, there are lights inside. Oh, there is a floor. It is tiled. A wall is painted. There is a ceiling. You see, the rooms are partitioned. There are doors. There are locks. So all those things cannot be seen from outside. So if I say organizational design theory, you won't know what is inside until I present it to you. So I've mentioned it, you haven't seen it, but you will be able to see some components when I present an example. That is the importance of the analogy there. So, and it simplifies how we explain concepts. Theories come from a multitude of sources in each discipline, and there are always more being created and applied across the fields. For an example, there is a plethora of options within the realm of education leadership for selecting a theoretical framework. The researcher must select the appropriate theory of how he or she, of how his or her house will look on the exterior. I've already said this, no? The following slide details a sampling of commonly used theories across disciplines. And here they are. I'm not going to read a lot of all of them. I'll just mention some. We've got Marxist theories. We've got servant leadership moral theories. We've got behavioral theories. We've got sense of community theory. We've got feminist theories, transformational theories, community inquiry, identity information. There's just a whole lot of them. This is not a complete list. It's just an example of those. And I believe you might have come across theories when you were studying during your literature review. The researcher's choice of a theory provides structure to the entire dissertation. We've repeated this several times. It provides a common world view. I've said this, that somebody has got a perception and a view and a thinking and a philosophical view. Somebody has got his own perceptions, which are developed in the world view, or a lens, a world view or a lens from which to support one's thinking. So your world view will support your thinking because it is a lens. It will support you on your thinking on the problem and analysis of data. So we've got preconceptions. Don't think that data is just objective as it is, because it is analyzed by human beings. And if it is analyzed by a machine, a Microsoft a software, then that software has been created by a human being. The second type of blueprint is a floor plan now, which we are going to look at now, and we can make a comparison between a floor and the elevations. Elevations have indicated to us how a structure of a house looks like from the outside. But we are going to look at the ground plan, which reveals the internal of the house. This drawing allows the viewer to see the floor plan as if you were looking down from above into the home itself. All homes contain common elements such as rooms, I've said that, doors, I've said it, toilet, I didn't say it, a kitchen, I didn't say it, ventilation, I didn't, electrical outlets, I didn't, and an aesthetic design, how it is designed inside. So this is what you see if you look at the ground plan or the floor plan, sorry, not the ground plan, the floor plan. Yet how each home is organized or laid out will be in accordance with the design choice used in the elevation drawing. For an example, a bungalow home have similar floor plans and exteriors. You see now, they're telling you that all bungalows might be related, but these floor plans are very different than an adobe home. So adobe homes have got their own style of making floor plans, as will be shown in the next slide. There you are. Craftsman style floor plan blueprint. So there is an example of a floor plan. You can see that from when you look at this, you see more things than if you were looking at the outside elevation. Similarly, most professional practice dissertation and research articles follow the typical format of statement of a problem, colleagues. Now, there is a statement of a problem in your research plan. There is literature review, and we were doing this on Tuesday. There is methods or research design. You might have made reference to this in the past. Presentation of data, we also have done this when we looked at the findings, and the discussion. So this is what is contained in a research report or in a research project. And as we have said, I think we are going to see that these give effect to the theory. Yet the contents of each section or chapter will vary from student to student and must be consistent with the theoretical framework selected for the dissertation. You know what they're saying here? They're saying you would be having a theoretical framework. When you have got a theoretical framework, you would have these sections in your study, which is informed by the theoretical framework. But the content of each of these would not be the same for all the research projects. Not research projects do not present the same information, rather. They would have the section named the same, but the content differently. I researched on the natural environment, so my sections talk about the natural environment. But the other project that focused on organizational design does not necessarily talk about the natural environment. It mainly talks about institutions. Where it makes reference to the natural environment is where it talks about water, because the institutions for which the organization was designed was a water management institution. So we are emphasizing a point of that the theoretical framework would be there and it would be guiding all sections. And we are saying sections of different research projects would differ, although they are named same. The floor plan of the dissertation blueprints contains the theoretical principles, constructs, concepts, and tenets of a theory. So these are the components of a theoretical framework. So, and these are the details which I said from the elevation you want to see. That is why the theory of organizational design, if I just mentioned that, you don't know what it entails inside. But if I were to unpack it, you will understand its principles, its constructs, its concepts, and tenets. So the same would apply to any other theory. It has got its own construct, principles, and concepts. Specific conceptual elements of a theory must align with the researcher's theoretical framework. There it is. Specific conceptual elements of a theory must align with the researcher's theoretical framework. In other words, we would have a theory that has got specific elements. So those elements are going to be transferred when we implement them. Then we're going to call it a theoretical framework. That is why earlier on in the beginning, we said that theoretical frameworks are based on theories. In other words, there's going to be either one or more theories that are going to be identified. So the elements from those theories would inform our theoretical framework. So the elements of the theory of organization are the ones that I used for, when I implemented the theory of organization in my organizational study. Thus, you would not expect to walk into a bungalow style home and find massive stucco walls with rounded edges. Oh, in a bungalow, they're saying you can't find that, which are characteristics of an Adobe style house. In other words, we're saying that theoretical framework should contain elements of the theory that has been identified. We want to find elements of a different theory if we are implementing a theoretical framework of an organizational design. We will not see elements of a leadership theory. We unpack, and because we're going to use it to guide the studies, we unpack and give effect to the principles and the elements of the theory of organizational design. So this is an overemphasized from earlier statement. In reference to the dissertation blueprint, if you select transformational leadership as your theoretical framework, each chapter should connect to theorists who have written about transformational leadership and concepts drawn from this framework. You see now, it means today, because I've chosen organizational design theory as an example, it means my examples, all of them would show elements of the theory of organizational design. And I'm going to give effect to it in each of the sections. It would not be appropriate to discuss variables that do not relate to the principles of transformational leadership, such as gender, age, and ethnicity, if these are not part of transformational leadership, because we know it. This would be akin to placing stucco rounded walls in your craftsman style home. You see, you are matching something with where you are making a mismatch. In other words, principles and constructs that do not derive from your theoretical worldview of the study would be inconsistent and out of place. So this is an emphasis that we must not use something that does not belong to our theory. In our study, once we choose a theory, then the theoretical framework should be informed by that theory specifically. Before committing to a research design, you must first consider the guiding principles for your inquiry so that readers will understand how you have situated the problem of study in relation to a theoretical framework. In other words, that's where we were saying, even from the beginning, let us know which theory is going to be used. Then we ground our studies in that theoretical context. The theory selected for your study offers a conceptual basis for understanding, analyzing, and designing ways to investigate a problem. Because even in the as we have said earlier on, even in asking your research questions, then you are guided by the theoretical framework. Also, when you go to collect data, you are guided by the theoretical framework. And when you analyze data, you are guided by the theoretical framework. This is an overemphasized, colleagues. because here we're talking about a blueprint. Thus, you need to know how you will define and approach your research problem and provide a rationale for how and why you are conducting your study so that the reader can get a sense of where you stand on the problem itself. This belief is supported by a number of authors who wrote, the function of this theory is to inform the rest of your design. We've said this and we are just repeatedly saying it so that we don't forget it. And then to help you assess and refine your goals, develop realistic and relevant research questions are based on the theory. I'll actually prove it today. Select appropriate methods, and that one should indeed be based on the theory. That is why I said I will even present where the questions have been extracted from, the principles that informed questions that were administered to the respondents, and identify potential validity threats to your conclusions. It also helps you to justify your research. Embedded with the discussion of a theoretical framework is an explanation of a conceptual framework. While these two ideas are similar in nature, they differ in their approach, style, and utilization within a dissertation. This is an important distinction for doctoral students to understand and grasp. So, and although this has been said here today, I don't want us to go into the theoretical, the conceptual, a lot of discussion on the difference between the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework. And I would like to pause again, since we are to embark on another section. So this is a transition. Let me also stop, and I'm going to exit from the presentation mode, and you can be ready to ask questions and to make comments. So I'm going to also see if I would not be able to see those who are raising hands. You can raise hands if you've got questions, and you can raise hands if you've got comments to make. Otherwise, if I see there's no hand, then I will continue. Or there is a hand, yes. Marina, it is Mutatleko. It disappeared. Did I pronounce correctly?
I'll give you 8 out of 10 this time around, Prof.
Did I miss the other on Tuesday? Did I failed to read this name?
Tuesday didn't even attempt. At least this time around you did, and you got it close to right. It's pronounced Mutatlego.
But Mutatlego, ne?
That's correct. That's correct.
But the other thing that I can pronounce better is Sibula.
Everyone find it very easy to say Sibula. I've grown up with that. It's fine. Can use Sibula, Prof. Thanks, Prof. I just wanted to find out, Prof, in terms of selecting the theoretical framework. I've been trying to follow the analogy of the house. If what you want to embark on is impacted upon by various disciplines. Say, for example, if you are looking at, as an example, corporate governance, you'll find that there is some element of law there that will impact on the issue of corporate governance. There's an element of financial management, auditing, as it were. There's an element of legislative oversight and so on. So in a case where you are dealing with a topic that draws from various disciplines, I hope I'm not preempting the next session's what you call, Prof. But how do you go about selecting a theoretical framework in such a situation? Thanks.
I think the key, the framing of the research topic and the research question would inform the study. And the research topic would tell you if you are investigating a legal, if your study is a legal project, investigating legal processes, or if it is an accounting or financial, or if it is auditing. The heading must advise us And your research objectives would show what the specific focus of the research project is. And that one also, I think, can assist us to tap onto the theoretical framework. Although, in my view, you need to know your theoretical framework before the objectives. So when you do sure, something has happened here. Hello? Hello?
We can
still hear you, Doctor.
You hear me? Oh, something had disappeared, but now I can see it. So later on, there is a slide that assists us on the choice of the correct theoretical framework. But it does not necessarily talk about a choice where you have got a mixture of various disciplines. Instead, it uses the literature review as the strategy is centered around literature review, because in literature review, some concepts become very, very they become evident that the study is about Israel and Hamas. The study is about the Palestinians. The study is about the Middle East. You see, those concepts are coming on constantly. If the study is about the war jets, about the cannons, about the rifles, and about the soldiers, you see, those concepts are telling you, oh, there's something that has to do with the conflicts or with the war or the fighting. That is what informs you how to choose the correct theoretical framework. You might find that if you're talking about the fight and the conflicts in the Middle East, the theory maybe is the theory of conflict, or the theory of war, the theory of defense, the theory of misunderstanding. You see now, because I know that where there is a gun, people don't agree. And where people are fighting, people differ. So those concepts will become evident. And there is a theory whose principles give effect to conflicts, to differences, to war, to misunderstandings, to rebellions, and to defense. So that is how you would look. And later on we'll do it. And by the way, they recommend the use of a literature map in the choice of a theoretical framework. So we might sometimes revert back to a theoretical framework, to a literature map to see how we can make a choice using a theoretical framework with reference to a theoretical framework. I did not prepare one in relation to the organizational design project. If we don't do it today, I think tomorrow, when we finish it on Tuesday, I will prepare a specific literature map that would speak to this project of organizational design, so that we can use its literature on the choice of a theoretical framework. Any other question? Okay, if we don't have any question, I want to move, and I want to see, why don't I see examples yet? I want us to see examples today, man. I like them because I breathe and I enjoy talking to practical things. Let me go back to the presentation mode and we can continue. Now, we're talking about the selection of an appropriate theoretical framework. And now, Memadima, there is, oh, no, yours we've already answered. Ne? And now here the selection maybe would assist on how to select based on the theoretical framework. Or on the literature map. Selecting an appropriate theoretical framework for your dissertation research is an important and necessary process with which postgraduate students should engage. The selection of a theoretical framework requires a deep and thoughtful understanding of your problem, your purpose, your significance and research questions. Colleagues, maybe I'm confusing you, but understand this, that research is reiterative. I'm saying this because I've already said you must identify a theoretical framework up front. Now, how do you use your problem, your purpose and significance, as well as research questions to select a theoretical framework? If a theoretical framework is chosen earlier, maybe not upfront, maybe earlier would mean you negotiate between the purpose, the theoretical framework, the problem statement, the research question, the significance. You navigate in between, you go to and fro, to and fro. Research is reiterative. You know what I will tell you? I said from another university, a person that I was mentoring went to the field, collected data, and at the time of writing and presenting results, I advised a person, you did not include a theoretical framework. Then we had to work backwards to look at the findings and to look at the research process to try and give effect by revising all the sections and all the chapters so that the theoretical framework can be given effect to. But yeah, they are emphasizing use, problem, purpose, significance, and research questions. It is imperative that all 4 constructs, the problem, the purpose, significance, and the research questions, are tightly aligned and intricately interwoven so that your theoretical framework can serve as the foundation for your work and guide your choice of research design and data analysis. You know, colleagues, I attended a workshop, regional workshop conference yesterday, University of South Africa, that they hosted. And there, someone was presenting a research proposal. A person then presented I think there were few research questions, but there were more objectives. Then the panel and the audience asked the researcher, why do we see more objectives if you have got fewer questions? Because by nature, objectives respond to the questions because they give effect to the questions. If you have heard that statement, it means that your questions and the research objectives should be aligned. But what we know that specific research questions are aligned to the overall research question. And what we also know is that your objectives are aligned to the purpose of the study. And what we know is that your purpose of the study is aligned to the research topic. And you see now, and that is why when you go to collect data and everything that you do is going to give effect, is guided by your research objectives. At the end of your study, you must justify and demonstrate to the readers that you have actually achieved the research objectives. And in a way, most of the chapters, you will see that your objectives sometimes constitute the chapters. And we will deal with this later on if we get time. So here they're telling you the problem, the purpose, the significance, the research questions. All of them should be aligned. So that assists you in choosing the correct framework. So if there is one theoretical framework, then it will be able, if these are connected, it will be able to be a thread that again connects, that grounds all of them. So it grounds the entire study. Think of the electrical system running through a house. So the electric plan must flow through all rooms in your house, connecting all the elements explicitly together to deliver power throughout the dissertation. So this is a theoretical framework. An electric plan is equated with a theoretical framework. So it links everything in the entire dissertation. all rooms of a house require electricity, and all sections of the dissertation require the theoretical, giving effect to the theoretical framework. Similarly, all aspects of the dissertation research should connect to the theoretical framework. Your problem, your purpose, significance, research questions, methodology, and data analysis. All of them should be connected, be related to the theoretical framework. I don't know how many times we are repeating this, but I think the authors might have done it deliberately so that this sinks in us, so that when we deal with the aspects, then we don't have problems. Now, we are going to see examples now. Now, let's start with now a brief discussion of the problem, purpose, and significance in dissertation research. And this is where we're going to show how all these sections give effect to the theoretical framework. And we start with the problem statement or the problem. This is one of the most critical parts of the dissertation, colleagues, because actually the dissertation or the research is based on the problem that the researcher has identified, or the problem that is troubling the researcher, or the problem that the researcher wishes to investigate. The problem becomes a research project. So it pains me, so it must be investigated, and I must answer questions, because this problem has got a lot of questions that are not answered. So it is a problem that must be resolved. I investigate and provide answers. So it is a solution. Let's see. The problem statement establishes an interaction by two or more factors that produce a dilemma or quandary that can cause for further examination. It's a problem. There are challenges within a problem, and those challenges are the ones that warrant further examination, so that answers are provided. The problem statement defines the root problem as well as the other variables and construct inherent to the problem. The problem has got a root problem. This problem, which is inside there, has got elements in it. It affects so and so. In terms of the establishment of catchment management agency and organizational design perspective, that was the topic. So the problem is, we are saying some of the structures of the CMA are not well designed. They are dysfunctional. As a result, the CMAs themselves cannot effectively execute their mandate of water resource management. So let us investigate how better they should be designed. So the root problem is dysfunctionality and poor design, so that water resources can be managed better. So the designing of the institution and water resource management are two constructs and two variables. It identifies the problem statement, identifies an area that needs further research or helps to resolve or address an existing problem in the field. How does the theoretical framework emerge or connect to the problem? What does the problem look like from the outside? So see next slide. In the next slides, now I want to show how a problem statement is connected to the theoretical framework. And here I say the relationship between theoretical framework and the problem statement. The project was completed in 2019. Now, I will read a little bit, but when I come to the middle of this paragraph, then I'm going to show you what is relevant to the theory of organizational design. The red writing that you see in the middle of the slides is where I would stop and indicate to you the relevancy of the problem to the theory. Let me read. There is also a perception among chief executive officers and their subordinates that they are working for organizations that are not adequately empowered by government and the Department of Water and Sanitation to plan and undertake their daily functions effectively. This problem is exacerbated by the fact that catchment management agencies and their chief executive officers report to more than one government entity at the same time. According to one of the principles of organizational design, the principle of organizational design belongs to the theory of organizational design. According to this principle, which is unity of command, if organizations do not take this principle into account, it will lead to uncertainty, conflict, and misunderstanding of instructions. That is what the principle says. So it means, in other words, if you don't have one center where instructions are given, you are issuing conflicting messages, then you are misunderstood if you are a leader or you are a manager or head of the unit. And there is uncertainty of what the people who are receiving instructions should do. That is why I wrote in red, unity of command is one principle of theory of organization. So here, if I've done this and I've mentioned principles, one of the principles that belong to the theory of organizational design. So my statement of problem has already started to give effect to the theory of organizational design. Let me look at another example so that I can even make myself clear. Yes, the next paragraph reads, it has also been established that many of the problems between the Department of Water and Sanitation and the catchment management agencies are organizational design related. Now here you see, I now again give effect to the organizational design or organizational studies theory, because I say organizational design related problems. So in other words, I say in my head, hey, organizational design, what can assist me is to actually give effect to the principles presented or contained in the theory of organizational design. If I continue, this includes unsatisfactory communication channels, the chain of command, delegation of authority, division of tasks, and unity of command. You see, unity of command we've already said. We just added more principles that are there and that are contained in the theory of organizational design. And I say these are the principles from a theoretical viewpoint. So I can argue with anybody here that I tried in my statement of a problem to give effect to the theory of organizational design. And as a result, now I want to make sure that when we pass from the problem of statement and we go and look at the other sections of the research report or of the proposal or the research report, we want to see if those other sections in a way have also given effect to the theoretical organization, because here we have seen it from the statement of a problem that indeed we have given effect to the theoretical principles of the theory of organizational design. And let me go to the last statement, which says the preliminary investigation revealed that, it means when I did literature review, when I investigated, the literature revealed that the reasons for this particular situation and subsequent problems are the poor design of organizational structures. And the design of organizational structures do belong to the principles of the theory of organizational design. So you can be rest assured, I tried to give effect to the theoretical framework. If this is not professional enough, but at least I've tried to make reference to those principles. Let's move and see what the next section says to us. Oh, let's look at the purpose. And we said we mentioned the purpose as part of the section that must also give effect to the theoretical framework. Let's look how it is done so. The section of the purpose statement defines the purpose or justification of your study. The purpose statement presents the aims and or outcomes for the problem you have generated. Think in terms of the following questions, and this is how most of the people word their purpose statement. They will say, the aim of this study is to investigate how the organization of the catchment management agencies may be effective in enabling catchment management agencies to execute their functions effectively in South Africa. It's just an example. I don't think it is in my document, but it's a way in which someone can word it. The other person can say they cannot use the term aim, can use the purpose, can say the purpose of this study is to investigate the relevance of the designed structures of the CMA to the efficiency of executing the mandate of the catchment management agencies. It's one another example. What do you hope to do with this study that will add to critique or revise current knowledge in the field? So in other words, they're asking, you must indicate in the purpose what your intentions are. What do you want to do and to achieve? Answering these questions will allow you to describe how the chosen theoretical framework relates to the purpose of the study or the research project. Now, here is a purpose statement for the project on the establishment of catchment management agencies, an organizational design perspective. It reads like this. The purpose of this study is to analyze and implement the principles of organizational studies and organizational design. That is a theory, colleagues, in order to assist catchment management agencies and their chief executive officers to manage their respective water management areas more effectively so that a better service can be rendered to water users. You see, reference to the principles of organizational design is a way of giving effect to the theoretical framework. And colleagues, here I am saying I tried to give effect to the theoretical framework, because now I even have indicated in the purpose, I commit that I will even analyze and implement the principles of that theory. So the theoretical framework is all going to indeed, its principle. We want to see in any of the section if the principles have been implemented or have been given effect. Let's come to the significance of the study. What is the significance of the study? Here, the researcher describes the significance, the importance of, or the so what of the exploration. Why do you explore? What will people benefit? Why is this an important topic to anybody or to you? To whom is it important, colleagues? And we always have three clients, three stakeholders to the research studies. These are the policymakers, the research community, and the affected communities. People are impacted eventually. Why should readers in your field and in general care about this issue? They care if it is important. So tell us that importance. Why should they care? Why is it important? Is it important to the policymakers? And then indicate by writing how policymakers would be impacted positively or negatively. And then the research community, the people that also undertake the same research, because this project was submitted to the Department of Public Administration. And then the affected communities, who are they that are interested on organizational design? People in government, people in organizations, public entities, and any other private sector organizations, companies, institutions, NPOs, all of them are worried by organizational structures. So if this is well done, they can benefit from it. If they read how the how the public entities should be organized or any other organization, because some of the principles are very generic. A theory would not give you a specific principle. They will be generic, so you can apply it in a number of organizations. So it must be indicated under the significance of the study, how it will be impacting the stakeholders and how they will benefit from it. Here, the researcher explains the potential value of this study and how it can add to the body of existing work and knowledge in the field. Because if you don't do that, therefore, you are not conducting research. You cannot. That is why we said you should not replicate. And we said when you replicate, please replicate it differently, extend the studies, strengthen it, or there are recommendations that the studies has done, and some gaps have been left by the studies. So that is how you add into the body of knowledge. And that is one of the significance of the study. Here, again, the researcher will assist so that the section helps to determine the audience for the study. We have already said who are the policymakers in this discipline, and who are the affected communities in this discipline, and who are the research communities under the discipline of public administration. Then you should be able to know those. Additionally, you will need to explain why you have chosen a specific theoretical framework in relation to the importance of your study. So in other words, in this section, we want to see you giving effect to the theoretical framework. And we have said in the beginning, every section should demonstrate the extent to which it gives effect to the theoretical framework. Because we said, again, the theoretical framework is likened with a thread or an electricity thread that should run in all rooms in a house so that all houses can receive light. And we are saying all the sections of the research must receive a backing of the theoretical framework. So the researcher ensures that he or she gives effect to the theoretical framework in each of the sections. And we are saying the significance of the study should do that. Aligning your theoretical framework with the problem, purpose, and significance is an important part of the dissertation process. Again, consider the analogy of the necessity of a blueprint when building a home. By creating a solid, strong blueprint, you can then establish the varying parts and levels for the knowledge you want to build or to know. And we are looking at how now the significance of the study, in my case, has given effect to the theoretical framework. Again, the role of, the establishment of catchment management agencies in South Africa and organizational design perspective. So we want to see some principles or some aspects of the theory of organizational design being given effect here under the significance of the study. And I said under 1.9, my significance of study is entitled Contribution of the Study. It reads like this. The study will contribute to the body of knowledge of organizational studies. And remember, the term organizational studies, the criteria organizational studies was mentioned also from the study topic. The subject, public management and governance and science in general. So this is where contribution will be made. So amongst those contributions, we have organizational studies. So it means the theory itself. The Department of Water and Sanitation and Catchment Management Agencies and their chief executive officers will also benefit from the study, as a clear picture will be provided on their organizational entities, on how their organizational entities should be structured to manage water sources for communities living in their water management areas. In other words, we are saying they will benefit. The department, the CMA, and the CEOs, all of them will benefit because the study is going to shed light on how their entities should be designed in terms of the organizational theory. So structuring organizations relates to the organizational theory, colleagues. So here, again, the significance of the study is clear that it's actually giving effect in one way or another to the theoretical framework. We are left to colleagues with 15 minutes. And in these 15 minutes, I will try to do justice to what is necessary. And again, I'm not going to rush. I've said if we don't finish, we will postpone and finish it on Tuesday. We continue with looking at the significance of the study on how it contributes, or actually giving effect again to the theoretical framework. It says the findings of the study will thus not only be of value to the scientific community. You see now, I was indicating to you, the scientific community is part of the people, or sorry, of the clients or stakeholders that are going to be affected by your research outcomes and your research project. So they must benefit or they must be affected somehow. Now I say not. So the findings will thus not only be of value to the scientific community, but also to the Department of Water and Sanitation and the catchment management agencies, as well as their CEOs, chief executive officers, when it comes to better design of their organizational structures. The department oversees these institutions, is the one that designs them. The catchment management agency, if it is in existence, it has got an organizational design. And every 5 years, organizations review their organizational design. So catchment management agencies can use the outcomes of this study to review their organizational design to ensure that there is efficiency in giving services. And there are a number of reasons that have been presented, and I've done this under the literature review to indicate why would organizations review their structures or their organizational design. There are benefits. So I'm saying that benefits is also coming from will be guided by the findings of this study. And the chief executive officers are the people who implement on behalf of the catchment management agencies. They are employed by the board, then they report to the board of the catchment management agencies. So the CEOs will also be affected because they are the ones who lead the redesign of the organizations that have employed them. So when they read the document that talks about the organizational design and that specifically talks about the catchment management agencies, which is their own organization, then they get joy. They say, okay, let's look at this document. So we are trying to indicate that indeed we tried under the significance of the study to give effect to the theoretical framework. Now, as stated before, the functioning of the CMA needs attention, and the researcher identified certain organizational design problems and indicated how these problems can be addressed based on the knowledge gained from the theoretical analysis, colleagues. Theoretical analysis then refers to a theoretical framework. So, to a larger extent, I think that project has tried to give effect to that one. Now, we also have something that still should give effect to the theoretical framework. But I think, colleagues, these examples are enough for the day.
Next one, so theoretical framework retorts like, what informs your thinking before you can arrive at a practical conclusion?
Okay. I said earlier on, everybody has got a world view. And let me just make a practical statement here. When you come to attend this workshop, you already have a thinking. You have got background in studies. You have, if you are a public administration student, you have got all the concepts that are there. If you are a natural scientist, all the animals, all the water, the soil, and the plants. And if you are a lawyer, all the decided cases, the judgments, the Hamas and Israel is there in your head. So these are the things that you bring to this workshop. And I tell you, if you're going to undertake any study and you are doing a study under public administration and you have identified a topic, I'm saying you are better placed than a person who comes from natural sciences in doing that. Therefore, your background is your worldview, your experiences in life, whether at home, whether somewhere at work and everywhere, your understanding, they are your worldview. And the way in which you choose your methodology, the way in which you choose your research design, your research approach is actually informed by your worldview, your philosophy, the way you think, the way you perceive things. To you, a wrong is when a person does that. A correct thing is when a person behaves like that. An ugly thing should look like that, upside down. A beautiful thing should be shining. That is your worldview that informs you. Like, so therefore, you are going to use all this experience, everything that you have, in making a choice. So now that I was studying under public administration, so I wanted everything to go under public administration. So there is organizational design where I was working is the responsibility of corporate services, and administration is public of corporate services under the Department of Water and Sanitation. And you've got a dedicated unit that actually leads organizational design and organizational restructuring almost every 5 years, and they facilitate these processes. So those people are specialists, they are there. So you have got these views that inform you. And these are the people who studied public administration. And they in public administration, then they sometimes specialize on organizational design. So that will assist you. And when you take a final decision and a practical decision, I said, you are going to do your literature review. So your literature review is actually talking about the topic. And I've just said, if you're talking about Hamas, you're talking about the guns, you're talking about the jets that are fighting, the differences, the conflicts, the struggle, everything, famine, hunger, there in the Middle East. You see, everything that is coming out is either about suffering or is either about defense or fighting conflicts, differences. That's how practical it should be. But there is a way in which you choose, and we will advise on how you can do it. I said I will use a mind map, or a literature map, as recommended by the guidelines, how you use literature review to actually make you choose the correct theoretical framework. Any other question?
Yes. Is it advisable or possible that someone could apply more than one theory in one study?
Yes. And I've also said earlier on that under the theory of organizational design, or the studies of organizational design, we've got a number of theories, and I've got them in my studies here. I just forgot Marxist theory, Fowler's theory, there's another one. So there are modern theory of organizations and classical theories of organizations. These are sub-classes of theories. In them, you've got a number of them, 2 or 3. But eventually, there are ones that resonated with my studies and resonated with me. And together with the study leader, then we chose those to try and implement, give effect to those principles. So you have got many theories, but they are all falling under organizational design theory. But let me also indicate that you can use different theories that are not related. But if your studies actually shows that it actually addresses, or what you are addressing is actually can better be addressed when we give effect to all these theories. Let me give you an example. A person that I was mentoring was conducting a study on policy. Then when she was conducting a study on policy, she is doing it on water, or on the mining sector. When she does that, and I approached her, I said, no, although you can look at the simplest policy is, sorry, the simplest theory is the theory of policy formulation. So because she was investigating policy in terms of the mining sector. But I said, remember, the mining sector has got to do with a lot of developments. And what it does, it affects the environment, it affects the economy of the country, it affects the people. Then there is the triple bottom. Then I said to her, it also has to do with the triple bottom, which belongs to sustainable development. Therefore, the person even agreed to actually include sustainable development as a theory and the theory of policy formulation. So she's going to do that. So I want to say something about that, because there are authors who agree that if you use more than two theories in your study, they regard it as a theoretical framework. There is also another school of thought that says if you use more than two theories, so you are borrowing principles from different theories. It means you, at the end, you end up with a conceptual framework, not even a theoretical framework. And this I also heard when Professor Ngulube from the University of South Africa was presenting. He made a clear distinction between a theoretical framework and a conceptual framework. But I do believe that there are disciplines can say these things differently, depending on how the discipline, the community of practice in that discipline have documented and have researched on the concept, theoretical framework and conceptual framework. And I do believe different institutions might apply these things differently. And I also do believe different study leaders, different professors and doctors would understand these things differently, and they would therefore guide the researcher or the student in the way that they understand it better, as long as it will be defended and at least the report will be passed. That is why in most cases when I do my presentations or my workshops, I indicate that I provide guidelines. So you can decide, do you call it a conceptual framework or you call it a theoretical framework? But the use of more than one theory in the study is allowed.
I'd like to ask, is the aim or purpose same as the objective, or are they different?
They are different. The objectives support the aim, but yeah, the purpose and the aim is the same. And I've indicated there, saying that the purpose of this study is to or the aim of this study is to That is the author from whom I got this information actually equate it. And in actual fact, if you look at the dictionary, you might find that they are closely related. So they are the same. But you see that it is important that when you've got an aim or purpose, your objectives should be seen to be supporting the purpose statement or the aim statement. You see, you must try by all means that in order to achieve your purpose or your aim, you craft the correct objectives that are in line with the purpose of the study. Because we are saying you've got a research question which results in sub-research questions. You have got a research aim which answers research aim or research purpose which answers the research question. Then it has got objectives which answer the research sub-questions. You see now, you link your objectives with your aim because you have linked your specific research questions with your overall research question. And I've just said your chapters are actually responding to the objectives. In other words, each chapter is an objective. So it has got a question that has been answered through implementing an objective. So that is the relationship between a purpose and objectives and an aim.
Okay, there's one more question that came in now. How many pages should the master literature review be?
we answered this one on Tuesday, and I don't know how many pages. It depends on what you are investigating, and it also depends on the available literature, the subject under investigation, and I think if there's still concern on this question, let the person ask me through the email or ask me to have one-on-one with the person. We will clarify it better. We can revisit what we presented last on Tuesday and link it to this question.
So feel free, students, to utilize Dr. Korombi. You know, if you are not clear about something, make a follow-up one-on-one with him. He's available at all times